In this episode, we learn a little bit about what Gibson has told us they're doing in 22, but what haven't they told us? Let's find out. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Sometimes you have to hunt these answers out yourself. And if you check out Cesar's Instagram, one of the higher up guys at Gibson, he likes to drop little hints. Sometimes you have to find it hidden in a photo somewhere. Other times he posts things about his personal life and other cool things that he's doing. And then sometimes we get some gems like this. Let's see what Cesar is hinting at. Let's start with this, a repost from Scott Ian, originally of Anthrax. So this makes me think, hey, we might be getting System of a Down and Anthrax signature guitars. So let's start with Darren here. In this photo, we can make out a very interesting looking SG. Kind of a dark finish, something going on with our pickguard, has a vibrola unit on it, likely just some sort of a custom shop, but is it going to be his new signature? Well, if we go to the band's page here on Instagram, we can actually see a nice close-up of this guitar. Okay, so that appears to be like some sort of a brass pickguard that's been heavily aged. That thing's looking pretty darn sweet. However, do I think it's signature guitar material? I guess time will tell, but it could also just be any used custom shop SG that he swapped out the pickguard on. It's not too special in that aspect. However, another viewer of the show sent me this from a show a couple of nights ago. Alright, now this has signature guitar material to it. This is a Flying V 58 style that's been kind of done up a little bit more modernized, with maybe some sort of a mirrored pickguard here. String through body is what we're talking about, but not one, not two, but three humbuckers in here. We have trapezoid inlays on this fretboard, including on the first fret, so kind of Pete Townsend in style right there. But get this. No Flying V headstock, which is kind of a shame because these things get the cool raised logos, right? But this is a Les Paul custom styled headstock, which is cool. Like we've seen Flying V headstocks get put on other things, as well as Explorer headstocks, Firebird headstocks, but this one joins the Tak Matsumoto Firebird in getting a Les Paul style headstock on here. I'll be interested to see if this becomes a new signature guitar for him or if it was just a custom order for himself. Because you gotta remember, these are high-end artists here of big name bands. They can just call up Gibson and be like, hey, I want this, this, and this, make it for me. And they'd be like, yes. But as we'll learn later on, when Cesar kind of gets buddy-buddy, starts posting photos of them here, generally, within a couple of years, we've ended up seeing some sort of a signature guitar, like check out anything Adam Jones related a couple of years ago. So I'm not seeing anything on Scott here, but that doesn't mean that we won't be getting something. But those are two great bands. And hey, let's go back to Adam Jones for a minute. He's been spotted playing this weird custom-ordered Flying V. So it's like he went for reverse Silverburst on this one, since everybody's like, I'm Silverbursted out now. So now he's going to do the inverse of it, which is a finish that did exist for, I think, at least one Japanese custom order. There might be more out there. But once again, we've got a Flying V here with a ridiculous headstock. This just looks like a Dean guitar to me at this point, but I think it would be kind of cool to see this be the new next signature from Adam Jones. So string through, but without the V tailpiece, which is kind of interesting. And then we have 4 knobs on here, just like a Les Paul. Not exactly like it, but very close. And then you've got your toggle switch down here. We're starting to get Zakk Wylde vibes. That's an interestingly spec'd instrument, especially with the raised Gibson logo. Next up here, this one's been known about, but not a lot is known about it. So Slash and Miles Kennedy recently came out with a couple of singles, and they've got a new album coming out very soon. It's titled 4. So Cesar posted about this with the Call Off the Dog single. However, did you know there's a new Slash model coming out to commemorate this album? It's basically kind of like a reissue of the Rosso Corsa model, or maybe even similar to the Vermillion, but this time we have the double black pickups, and we have a number 4 on here, kind of Pete Townsend style again. So you can get the number 3 Les Paul Deluxe, the number 4 Standard, or number 9, number 2, and a couple of other numbers. It's like ordering at McDonald's here. I'll take a number 4. So I tried to do a little bit more digging with this, and I eventually found this metaltalk.net website, and it says Gibson is planning to release 250 of these Slash Les Paul Standard 4s as album commemorative guitars on the 11th of February 2022. So that's coming up soon. I don't know if that's actually for 100% sure when these things are going to come out. That's the only source I was able to find that said anything. But the package contains the new album on vinyl, as well as an exclusive case for this thing, a guitar pick tin, and a signed band portrait and 4 album decal stickers. For this, I kind of like the case better than the guitar. The guitar is cool, but for the case, they decided to give it a rectangular one that has the album name on it, and that's not something they normally do for Les Paul styled instruments. Pretty cool. So how much do I think that's going to be? I don't know, probably 35 to 4,000 would be my guess since it's bundled with the guitar. I would assume it's probably not going to be any more expensive than the regular ones, but, the resale market, since it is 1,000% limited edition, only 250, I could see those things becoming collectible in the future. I'm going to try to get one because if I'm going to make my all current Slash models episode whenever they finally get shipped, I kind of need that one, even though it doesn't have an Epiphone variation. It's also seeming likely that we're going to see a Jerry Cantrell Epiphone signature come out. So similar to the Gibson one, I don't know if we'll get the piezo bridge or not, but we'll probably have to wait a little bit more on that because that was just a leak on a guitar for him. But switching back to Cesar hinted at things, look at this photo. We've got Kirk Hammett right here with Greeny, the legendary guitar, and then his own personal burst within his collection. I thought this story was really fascinating. So the one that he calls Gemini is only one serial number away from the original Greeny, and they didn't even realize it until they were just talking guitars. That's really cool. But his own personal burst is actually very, very nice. What do you expect the president of Gibson to have, right? Something very nice like this. That's a good looking burst that has just enough wear and tear to it that it looks the part and likely plays the part too. But anyways, you can see him here playing it on stage with Kirk Hammett. I believe Mr. Trujillo was also at that show. Unfortunately, no James Hetfield Cesar publicity shots yet, but I'm still hoping. But these two seem to have some sort of a bond going on here, and you guys might freak out when I show you this next photo. It's a dog. They bought a dog together. No, just kidding. Down here, K.H. Greeny, Proto number 3. That's right. They're probably doing some Tom Murphy aged perfect recreation of Greenies. When's it gonna come out? Who knows? But they're at least on prototype number 3, so they're working really hard to get it right. That is really big news. But if they've got Greeny here on some sort of a workbench, they're taking the time to get this thing right. However, what's kind of interesting is if you can't wait for whenever that thing's going to come out, it could be a couple of years. You could always check out Collector's Choice number 1, the Melvin Franks Peter Green Greenie reissue. It's cool because it's Collector's Choice number 1 despite not being the first one that came out. But if you're a speculator in the market, if you can buy one of these at a good enough of a deal, whenever this new one comes out and inevitably instantly sells out and it's probably ridiculous money, people might go looking for an alternative, which could then raise the price of these. It's just kind of like the Chuck Berry models that came out. The originals followed suit on the 350T and the 355. And like Silverburst Les Paul Customs with the Adam Jones. So I guess what I'm saying is if you've wanted to own one of these, you might want to buy it before the other one comes out. But that's not saying this is cheap. The only one that's available is $18,000, and that seems kind of high. However, there's no recent sales recorded, so who knows? But it would not surprise me if those reissues are like $50,000 or something crazy. Brazilian boards and all. Only time will tell, but it is nice to know. Yes, it is indeed coming. Next up on Cesar's page, we have a one-of-one Gibson Flying V by Leo Scala. So Leo is well known for doing great aging relic jobs as well as building his own guitars. I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about him and his brand, but it's definitely a name that keeps popping up. Unfortunately, his website is a little bit under construction right now, but here's a little bit of what he can create and has sold at Chicago Music Exchange. So kind of like a Les Paul thing going on here. That's kind of interesting. It's still a wrap tail, but it looks fancy like one of the trapeze tailpiece single cut juniors. But what it appears that they've done here is had him do up a Flying V. But look at this, only one pickup and in the bridge. You kind of got some interesting bullet looking knobs and a whole bunch of aging on this thing. But oh my, okay. So they just gave it the dog-eared look, but it's not actually a P90. I like that. That's a cool humbucker with a roller bridge on it, but that's some extremely heavy aging. Now the headstock, I don't know if I like that logo or not. Like I prefer the traditional Gibson styled one that's raised, whereas this one appears to be more of like a real metal material that's been flattened out. But that's kind of a cool looking one. Here's that on another angle on Cesar's page. And this is one he posted nearly a year ago. So, is anything going to happen with this? I don't know. I've talked about it on the show before, but we've got a Richie Faulkner Flying V, potentially some sort of a prototype here. So we've got a full body pickguard, 2 gold humbuckers with a Floyd Rose. So this is kind of like a 58 style Flying V, but without a lot of the iconic specs, like the string through style. I'm not sure if it has the rubber bumper there. It might. But then we've got like a Les Paul custom style fretboard on here with his signature decal. And then we've got like a Hendrix inspired Flying V headstock here. This is cool, right? But I like what's over here even better. Look at those P90 pickups on pretty much the exact same thing, but you zoom up the headstock. Oh, it's an Epiphone. That's pretty cool to see coming. Again, I have no inside information on any of this, but generally, once they post something, it takes them about a year and a half before we see it, so this might be a 2022 thing. Who knows? Just last week, Cesar posted a new Kramer model that they're working on. That looks pretty cool, but this is what I really wanted to talk about. This Alec guy said, extra volume knob needed, but yes, when is the Dave Mustaine line coming out? Will there be Epiphones? Now he's referring to the Kramer version because the Gibsons are kind of already out. I mean, there's the pre-release run that you can buy used, and then the new one should be coming out here within a couple of months, if you can believe pre-order dates. But he responded to this guy, patience. And yes, on Epiphone. Whoa, that kind of blew my mind because I figured Kramer was kind of like the Epiphone for guys who like pointy guitars. They were just going to throw the artists in there. But he's going to get Gibson, Kramer, and Epiphone signatures? That's really fascinating to me because I really didn't think they were going to do that. It almost seems a bit overkill, but they are very different guitars. I kind of prefer the Kramers, and after trying that one that we just reviewed a couple of days ago, I'm really looking forward to those. But it wouldn't surprise me if it'll be a good 2-3 years before we see the Epiphone one come out. Oh, and I mentioned this a couple of episodes back. On Cesar's page, you can see this. I'm in the Gibson lab today. I'm really excited for this. Just as excited as I've ever been for like when they first announced the Adam Jones signature. Please, Gibson, bring back the classicals. I know you can't compete with custom boutique makers because, you know, it's a production level scale of things. But if you could have nice like $1,000 classical guitars that are pretty darn good again, that would be cool. But oh, take this into consideration. What if they hire somebody who knows how to make like the best classical guitars, and then they make them under the Gibson brand? They only make 2 or 3 of them every year. They're ridiculously expensive. That could be something interesting. But yeah, in case you didn't know it, Gibson did make classicals back in the 60s. I've actually owned a few of these. Back then they were like $200, $300 guitars if they had a crack, even less, but they quickly doubled and tripled in price once people started to find out about these. Because if you're a Gibson fan like me, I mean, why would you not want one of these? I love playing classical guitar. I would say I like it even better than electric guitar a lot of times. But these old ones can be a bit of fun, but a lot of them are in project condition nowadays. And there were quite a few different models out there, but that'll be a topic for another day. So that's it for all like the leaks and things that might be coming up, but just as a couple of bonuses, it looks like Cesar bought that first burst. Not the first burst, but as far as like the first tobacco sunburst finish, allegedly anyways, on this Les Paul Standard. That was for sale at Rudy's Music for a long time. You can actually, I think it's my 2020 episode of Reverb's most expensive guitars. That one was on there. I think it's like 120, 150,000. It was pricey, but hey, I think it's in the right home right here. And hey, I thought this photo was pretty cool. Initially, I thought it was the collector's edition ones, but I don't think it is because there's a lot more than 19 Explorers on that one. But then this photo, oh man. Prototype number 1, potentially, of that collector's edition run. It might seem silly that a guitar made less than a year ago could be worth so much, but I guarantee you a collector would probably pay $100,000 to $120,000 for the collector's edition prototype. All right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed learning about these new potential upcoming guitars. Again, prototype stages, things don't always pan out. We might not ever see these, and we might see them in a couple of years. But it's fun and great that Cesar gives these little hints to the diehard fans of the brand. Let me know which one was your favorite in the comment section, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.